Hey, Friendo, Steve here.
Hey, Larson.
And welcome back to Going In Raw. On today's episode, we're going to be answering a lot of your questions, and also, we got plenty of news to talk about, including Smackdown getting a new authority figure. Also, we got Punk Daily, and Tony Khan. Has he declared war on WWE through social media?
Oh, man.
I don't know about that. But, yeah, man, let's talk about it.
So, of course, we talked at length yesterday about Tony Khan's Twitter meltdown, if you want to call it that, leading to and following Dynamite's head-to-head battle with NXT this past Tuesday. And now we have reaction from within AEW and WWE about Tony Khan's tweets. So according to Fightful Select, apparently Tony Khan doesn't have to clear any of his tweeting activity with the AEW PR.
Well, yeah, because he's writing the checks.
I guess so, yeah. And then those that Fightful spoke to within the company didn't initially take issue with anything Tony Khan tweeted. However, according to Dave Meltzer in the latest Wrestling Observer newsletter, the reaction from WWE was drastically different. Dave stating that, quote, those in WWE did contact us very quickly after that post, the Cena and Undertaker one.
Yeah, said Cena and Undertaker, they've never done under 1 million total viewership, but once they went head-to-head with AEW, their number is plummeted to under 1 million.
Yeah. So those at WWE did contact us very quickly after that post with the idea that it was like they saw it as a declaration of war by still discussing the subject.
Oh, my goodness gracious.
That seems a bit much.
That seems like it's a bit much. Like, he's licking his wounds. He's trying to find any silver lining, any W there. And apparently Larson, that brought the dog out in WWE.
WWE, apparently. Like WWE's Twitter changed their avatar to Braun Breaker.
Right, exactly, yeah. Yeah, brought the dog out, man. So anyways, so TK he doubled down today, man. He's not done with his tweet storm. He says this. Well, this part's kind of sad, actually. He says, this weekend marks 1 year since Mayo Clinic saved my mom's life. During her ordeal, many AEW talent came to me alleging WWE tampering, inducing them to break their contracts. I'll never forget these phone calls at her side in the hospital. It's when business became personal for me. Not that I should be surprised, but the same WWE avatar accounts that spam me every day, no matter what I say or what it's about, now turning their wrath to mom recovering from a near-death experience, is why I straight hate these people to the bottom of my heart with all my soul. Admiral Kirk. So he hates the Twitter accounts with WWE avatars that troll him on the Twitter because he had a bad experience. His mom, that's a really sad situation.
It is.
And then to get that kind of news, man, yeah, I got sympathy for the guy in that, having obviously both of us have been through, ordeals with our parents. I lost mine about 2 months ago. And the prospect of losing them is pretty rough. Yeah. And then I totally understand, getting word that, hey, the competition's playing dirty. On the other hand, you would think this would have to be expected from him. Like, that's just the nature of the game, and it has been for a very, very long time. And in fact, there were literally just in the news a couple of years ago, Ring of Honor was getting a pre-AEW purchase. They were, taking WWE to task and maybe even to court about.
I think, they went to a lawsuit, I believe,
about tampering in their game. That WWE, they stopped. They were like, okay, we're gonna not, even get close to this. We're gonna make sure all these contracts are clear. So it's like on one hand, I can understand his point of view. On the other hand, this is just it's a nasty business, and I kind of feel like that. I don't know. I feel like there's a lot worse things that WWE could do.
Yeah, I mean, and as it relates to the Twitter trolls that come after him, I understand that's probably terrible. Having people respond to your tweets with just absolutely horrible stuff.
Yeah,
I
sure.
get it. And I don't know if there's a right tack to take with all that, but if I guess the concern for me is you say stuff like, I hate these people to the bottom of my heart with all my soul. I feel like that people now are going to double down on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Dude, there is simply no winning when it comes to that, because the trolls are legion, and they will use every vicious thing in their arsenal sitting behind their keyboards to try to get under your skin. I am not Tony Khan. I am not in that position. If I was in any sort of position where I would elicit, my business would just elicit that. Like, you and I have it pretty easy. We're in a really good spot where we're not so popular that we have to deal with that shit, but we're big enough a deal, an act, I should say, that we make a decent living for ourselves. But like, it is fairly rare. Like, the worst thing I've had recently is somebody saying, I don't know, I put my opinion out there on Twitter, and somebody said, Steve with a bad take, what's new? Something like that. Yeah. And I just, I chuckle at it, but, I'm a human like everybody else. That's my long way of saying, if I had $1 billion, I'd hire a personal assistant to take over my Twitter and just be like, text him whatever I wanted to say. Yeah. And it's like, I understand that the engagement with Twitter is kind of the thing, and he wants to engage. But if it gets to a point where they're living in your head rent free, man, that's not a good spot to be in.
No.
And you're not gonna win fights against trolls.
No. And especially in a situation where he's already got a lot going on. He probably has like 3 full-time jobs he does. He books AEW, works for the Jaguars. He works for Fulham FC.
Yeah, right, yeah.
He says a good week for him is 80 hours. That's a lot. That's a lot to dedicate to your work. And he seems to enjoy his work, and that's great.
Yeah.
But when you're already using so much energy to fulfill your duties, and then you got to deal with this on top of it.
Yeah.
It takes a toll, I would imagine.
I would think so. And I know he came, from what I understand, he came up on, the wrestling message boards of the past 20 years. And so I get that's maybe just the environment that he prefers to, inhabit online. But yeah, man, I don't know. Like, I find myself the same way. Like, everybody complains about Twitter, but until there's like a replacement that isn't as that gives the positives still outweigh the negatives for me on Twitter, and it's simply because the positives are fairly great. A lot of information, a lot of comedy, but yeah, you also have to sift through a bunch of misery as well. But yeah, man, I don't know. I feel like, at a certain point, I'm on it too much. I'll sit there on the For You tab because there's some fascinating stuff. But at a certain point, I'm like, what am I doing? I got to put this thing down so I can be productive, so I can go hang out with my family, so I can, sit here and do this stuff. Yeah. But I can understand that it can be addictive, and he has the desire to engage. But man, if it's getting to you that bad, that dude might want to think about stepping away or having somebody else handle, the promotional aspects of AEW as it pertains to his Twitter account.
And I understand, I would guess from his perspective, there's benefits to being seen as approachable, because that's a stark difference in the competition.
Yeah. He interacts with Lucha Blog and a bunch of other prominent,
Oh, totally. All the time.
Personalities. Yeah.
And he's, he'll joke around with people on Twitter and stuff. So given the appearance, it seems to be the case too, that he's approachable on social media. I understand why that would be a benefit to him and his fan base. I get that.
Yeah.
But there's got to be a balance there where you're approachable and people can, reach out to you and react to what you say, and he could react back and not have to be in the weeds, if you will, this kind of stuff.
For sure,
I don't know what that balance is. I'm not in his situation.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But it's terrible that he's has to get this kind of stuff, especially if it involves talk about his mother.
Yeah,
that's awful.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that's the situation. But
it's also awful that anybody at WWE would consider this declaration of war.
I know.
That's completely silly. It's asinine. It's juvenile. It's petty. Whatever you want to call it. Like he was moved nights to one night. You guys loaded up. You beat him. Congratulations. You know, a couple years ago, WWE was in no position to claim that that their product was good. You're thinking about the dog coming out, aren't you? That's what you're still thinking about. Yeah, no, it's okay. It's funny. It's like the best thing right now. But it's really silly. You got the same thing with Tony Khan. Focus on your product. Do what is necessary to make your product the best thing it can possibly be. You know,
Absolutely.
I see these things takes on social media. One of them said something along the lines of, you know, AEW's in a bad spot right now. Should they try to be more like WWE, or should they run away from that and try to be? So it's like, look, there is a language that has proven effective in telling stories in wrestling on a weekly basis on television, and he needs to crack that. Regardless, and Vince McMahon pioneered that language for better or worse.
Yeah,
it tends to work when it's utilized properly. He needs to crack that code and figure it out. I mean, he needs to focus on his product, making it better, and WWE needs to keep on focusing on making their product even better, because they're not perfect. And if they keep doing that, and no war is going to matter.
No,
you know, it's none of that shit's going to matter. Wrestling often goes in ebbs and flows. And WWE might find itself back in a position where it's dog shit, where they've bit off more than they can chew, and they'll fumble a couple of balls, and they'll be back in the pits, and people will be like, boy, this is crap. And AEW might have a resurgence in a couple of years, and it'll be completely flipped, because that's history. Mm-hmm. That's the patterns of life. Cyclical, yeah.
Well, here's the thing. In about a month, I think the weekend of Full Gear, we're going to get Collision and Rampage on a Friday night going head-to-head with Smackdown.
It's going to be a massacre again, man.
It is. It's going to be like by a factor of 5 at least that SmackDown's going to win. SmackDown's on network television.
It's on network television. They're going to
load good week. Collision would get just absolutely just wipe the floor with. This is changing nights to Friday, head-to-head against SmackDown.
Oh, by the way, quick correction on yesterday's show. We were wondering, like, what was going up against Collision 2 weeks ago that it did so poorly.
No mercy. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks to somebody in our comments.
Yes, thank you.
See if I can find it. But yeah, they're going to get but they just need to focus. Don't try to pop the ratings. Don't try to do stunt booking, because that was what WWE was doing in 2018, 2019.
Just focus on your stuff and make your stuff better.
Right. Put the pieces. That's what Triple H did back at SummerSlam a year ago. Started putting pieces in place, and then you build on them. Judgment Day wasn't built overnight. The Bloodline was not built overnight. Nope. You got to have some long-term vision and see this stuff get played out. Look at your contracts. Who's going to be here still in 2 years that you're positive about, and start building them along. But all this, start and stop. Miro's on TV. He's not on TV. Hobbs gets this great win over Jericho. Is he going to get any benefit out of that? Are they going to keep on doing anything with that?
Yep.
You got to start making some things for people to do, giving them stuff to do, and letting their characters thrive in those environments. And right now there's just a small handful of people in AEW, and they stand out like a sore thumb because so many others don't have anything to do.
Yep.
Jon Moxley should not just be another dude, and he's kind of another dude right now.
Yeah. Speaking to somebody who doesn't want to be just another dude, I think it could be a Punk Daily, Steve. You want to throw the graphic up?
Oh, Punk Daily, where is it? I want to get my Punk Daily.
I can't do it. My neck hurts after play basketball. I can't.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I can't. Sorry.
This
might be a Punk Daily, so let's not get ahead of ourselves. So PW Insider reported today that a reader of the site notified them that they, quote, saw CM Punk and Ace Steel while I was at work at Universal Studios earlier today. So
that's in Orlando.
That's in Orlando. What else is in Orlando, Steve?
The Performance Center of the WWE and NXT.
That's correct.
So that means Shawn Michaels got his wish. CM Punk is going to report to the Performance Center and be on NXT next week.
Yes.
No. Right.
No, because Fightful Select reported that he must be there just taking in the Fast and Furious Supercharged ride at Universal because he's heading to Tampa tonight to do commentary for Cage Fury Fighting Championship. This is Punk non-news. Sorry to get everybody's hopes up about meaty Punk Daily news.
How could you do that?
This is much ado about nothing.
How could you do that? You had me up here, but I know what happened. I brought the dog out in you, so you brought me back. You dragged me back down here.
I did.
Damn it. Golly. Yeah, so that Cage Fury Fighting Championship, he's just enjoying some. They still got the Back to the Future ride there. They changed it to The Simpsons. I think they changed it to The
Simpsons. That's what they did in L.A. I would assume that's probably
right,
did the same.
Probably,
in Orlando if they had the Back to the Future ride, which is a bummer because I love the Back to the Future ride. Simpson one is fun too, but
yeah, the Back to the Future ride, that was awesome, but also kind of like we're old, and so like I think we appreciate that a bit more than like most people who are relevant going to Orlando for that stuff.
Yeah,
I haven't been to Universal Studios in probably 10 years.
Neither have I. Probably longer than that.
Yeah. This is really cool. So here's a potential spoiler for y'all. So for SmackDown tonight, I'm really hyped about this, and I know you are too. So if you don't want to, listen to this, after this, we're going to have an ad read. So if it's on YouTube, you can scroll through and you can see the little BetterHelp thing here at the bottom, and then you can watch the ad and then watch the rest of the show because BetterHelp is awesome. Yes. But yeah, if you don't want the spoiler, go ahead and do the spoiler. I got to let this dog in. I can't let the dog out. I got to let the dog in, Larson.
All right, very well. I'll deliver this potential spoiler here about SmackDown tonight. So everybody, you've been warned. If you don't want to hear the spoiler, Steve said skip ahead till you see the BetterHelp verbiage on the bottom. So here we go. PW Insider is reporting that we could get a debut on the Blue brand tonight, this evening, saying, quote, former NWA World Champion Nick Aldis will make his official WWE TV debut tonight. PWInsider.com has learned. Aldis will be portraying an authority figure for the SmackDown brand going forward, which means he's likely signed with the company.
That's awesome. That is perfect. I like that. I think he probably should be wrestling, but you know what? Adam Pearce, similar situation. He was a wrestler. He was in the NWA, an NWA champion, all over the world, as they like to say. Scrap iron, and then he shows up in WWE and he becomes one of Vince McMahon's favorite authority figures. Vince was really high on Adam Pearce and he's kept that job. I like that. Now we got probably Pearce staying on Raw. Now we got Aldis on SmackDown, if that's going to be the case. He comes off as an authority figure. I can see that. I could totally see that. Yeah.
I can't wait till a special episode of SmackDown where they have all the legends. You could say SmackDown's going retro. Oh, start spinning really quickly.
What was that? What was the video game?
It was Retromania?
The game was Retromania?
Yeah, we're going retro.
We're going retro.
Yeah, this is pretty cool. You know, of course, all this he was a champ in Impact. He's a champ in the NWA. Pretty exciting. Yeah. And maybe this will lead to him potentially having a match. I think he's in his late 30s or something like that.
I hope so. I mean, did Pearce ever actually have that match against Roman? He didn't have that match against Roman.
I don't believe so. No.
Yeah, I don't think he's wrestled. Could be wrong about that, but I don't.
Yeah, Nick Aldis is 36 years old.
Did you have Cage Match up there? Or is that Wikipedia?
That's Wikipedia.
Oh, okay. I was curious if Adam Pearce has had a match in WWE since he's been there.
He's been in a ring in a non-official capacity. I mean, not as a WWE official.
Like a singlet on? Anyways, no, that's cool. That's super cool for Aldis though, man. I think he's really cool. Anyways, before we continue on to answer a bunch of your questions, would you like to pay some bills, Larson?
Let's do it.
All right.
This episode of Going in Raw is sponsored by BetterHelp. You know, Steve, I got to tell you, anxiety could be a tricky thing.
Yeesh.
Can't tell you how many times I've been in a situation where there's something I should do or I need to do, but my brain starts going and my anxiety kicks up, and it makes it pretty difficult for me to get those things done if I get them done at all.
Yeah, man. No, I get it. And I'm guessing you know this now, but therapy helps you figure out what's holding you back so you can work for yourself instead of against yourself.
Yeah, I've been there before, and I know was probably pretty anxious, generally speaking, just growing up, but my anxiety got really bad in my mid-20s, and I realized that it was getting in the way of me living a happy, productive life, and I needed to go to therapy. It took me a few tries to find someone I really felt comfortable talking to, but once I did, I was able to learn the tools I needed to better cope with my anxiety.
So if you're thinking about starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's completely online and designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited for your schedule. All you got to do to get started is fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched up with a licensed therapist, and you can switch therapists at any time for no additional charge.
So make your brain your friend with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/raw today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/raw.
All right, man. We got a bunch of good questions today, starting off with Shelby Fielding. Shelby says, with the Tuesday Night Wars behind us, do you think the general notion of AEW thinking of WWE as competition is creating an unobtainable idea of success for them? Not to suggest that they are unsuccessful, but choosing to chase an audience that may be uninterested in their product rather than boosting an audience that is more inclined to enjoy their style of product or genre of wrestling seems like a premise that sets them up for failure. What a great, wonderfully worded question there from Shelby.
Thank you. It's a fantastic question. Thank you, Shelby. I mean, as we just said earlier, talking about Tony Khan's tweets, it seems like from the outside looking in, we don't sit in his chair of head of AEW, that if you want to build your product, concentrate on what you can control, which is the quality of your product.
Yeah, right.
Build your product that way. Build your brand that way. An occasional kind of little jab at WWE on TV, yeah, that's fine. But I don't know if going after the company on social media is necessarily going to engender any goodwill from fans who don't already watch your show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If anything, it's just going to, harden the perspective of those who are loyal to your company.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But that's not necessarily going to lead to growth. I've heard people be critical of AEW's in-ring style in terms of how that can potentially bring them a larger audience. I don't think that's the issue. I don't think the quality or what they do or how they approach the wrestling in-ring is necessarily alienating viewers. It's all about stories. It's all about characters.
Yeah.
You can go watch most any wrestling product now and get good wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
What separates the super successful companies like WWE and well, there's a couple things. There's a few things. Of course, there's whether you're on TV or not, where you're on TV.
Yeah.
There's production value, and there's the quality of the stories and how interesting the characters are.
Yeah.
AEW's got cable TV deal.
Mm-hmm.
Their production may not be as consistently as good as WWE, but it's pretty darn good.
Oh, it's WWE has set such a high standard, but AEW is miles ahead of everybody else. That isn't WWE.
Yeah, but still behind WWE in some respects. But where they have faltered and have faltered off and on since their inception is the consistent quality of their storytelling.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And until they can really focus on telling consistently interesting stories that span the entire duration of their TV shows, all of Dynamite, 1 hour Rampage, the 2 hours of Collision, they're going to struggle to grow their audience.
Yeah.
We've seen this with the Bloodline story and Onward.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to build up your viewer base, you got to tell compelling stories. If you don't do that, then you got your most loyal fans watching your show, and that's kind of it.
And the problem with that is that's a recipe for attrition. When you only have your loyal fans and you're not making new ones, those loyal ones are going to start falling off as well for one reason or another. One of them, the story and character is the thing that you and I harp on so much. The story thing is interesting because so number one, to the question at hand, I do not think that achieving something close to WWE numbers, or certainly better numbers than they're getting now, is unobtainable. I do not think that for a second.
I think it's totally attainable, yeah.
I think that if you produce compelling television, people will watch. You can bring people who you know, if people really like what WWE's doing, and it's because of the story and character, if you have really good stories and character, guess what? They're gonna like what you're doing too. I think that even the most hardcore WWE fan, if AEW starts doing really cool shit, they'll give them a chance. It's like, oh wow. I mean, it's the same with us. 3 years ago, 4 years ago, WWE was in the doghouse. Triple H shows up, fresh mind, knows what he's doing, starts putting these pieces in place. Characters start acting cool. We're into it a lot more now. It's that simple. It really is that simple.
Yeah.
I don't think it's an unobtainable goal. I think they need to figure out, because the problem is, it's not that they're not doing WWE stuff. It's pro wrestling. Like, it's pro wrestling. You tell a compelling story, people will be into it. Another thing they really have a problem with is proper amounts of promotion. Now, I'm not even talking about their issue with like locally promoting shows. I'm not even talking about that. They've got coming up on a random rampage. They got like Mystico making his AEW debut against Rocky Romero. No vignettes. Like, how many times have they brought in like a top name from some other company with no vignettes? Just like, we announced this random, dude who's wildly popular in other areas, and he's going to make an impact. You're like, why didn't they build up Vikingo's debut in AEW? I understand he's not going to be there very long. I get it. But it's something to get people excited. It's like, oh man, part of wrestling is the razzle dazzle. It's the promotion. He's a promoter.
Yeah.
That's his title there in AEW.
Yeah.
So promote, every minute of television needs to be something special for people to watch. Wardlow came back cold.
Yeah.
Squashed a guy no different than anything we've seen before in the past with Wardlow, but he leaves through the crowd this time. I don't know why. They haven't explained it. Will they? Who knows? Yeah. Miro was on TV. Whoa, they've got CJ. They've got his hot, flexible wife. Where have they been? Like, they don't. Like, the promotional aspect of AEW seems to be all over the map and sometimes non-existent. And then the stories. I don't know how many times we've seen Hobbs do something different and it doesn't go anywhere. So, like, set stuff up, stick to it, and see it play out.
And have a plan. Have a plan when you launch it to a story. At least have a general idea where you think it's going to go, instead of just like, hey, wouldn't it be cool if we put Hobbs with Don Callis' family? Hobbs is great.
Yeah.
And let's put him with the Callis family because we're really booking them strong. All right. Well, where's it going?
Yeah. Yeah.
What's the plan?
Yeah.
What's the end result? Where is this going to lead? And if you don't know that, there's kind of no reason to make huge changes. I want to see Hobbs on TV every week. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But if another situation like when he won the TNT title and it didn't lead to anything, then it's not necessarily a net positive.
Yeah. The titles mean like not a lot in AEW, and that's one problem. And it's honestly, it's I'm not going to say it's anywhere near WCW 2000 levels of bad, but like in WCW in that era, the Russo Bischoff era and the Russo era, the titles really started to mean less and less.
Yeah.
And it's before that, it was a big deal. Hogan versus Sting. They were fighting for the title. Hogan was cold when he came into WCW. They gave him that parade there in Orlando. Nobody gave a shit for a year until the NWO happened. Mm-hmm. They had an idea and they went with it, and it was a good idea. And not before long, WCW was whooping WWF's ass in the ratings. The same thing can happen again. Like AEW, they can take over. It's a much different situation now.
Yeah.
But at the very least, they can make a good play for a larger amount of viewers if their stuff is good.
Mm-hmm.
But they just need to figure out how to tell these stories on a weekly basis. It's just not good television right now for the most part. The wrestling's really good. The show looks really good. Yeah, but it's good. Like, I don't know where anything is going, and none of it seems to matter. That's the sort of through line with AEW.
Yeah, totally. Blake Whitehouse here says, how many more months do we give it before Punk news becomes irrelevant?
Like a month ago?
Yeah. I mean, today, for example.
Yeah.
Totally non-news.
So here's the thing. That's why we've made a joke out of the Punk Daily aspect of things.
Yeah.
Would it be a big deal if he was in conversation with WWE? Sure, absolutely, because that'd be a huge deal. So we reported on it because it was out there, because Punk put it out there. I think he did anyways. And then WWE shot back, no, we're not talking to him. Those talks are dead. So I don't know where it could possibly go from here. I get the feeling, Punk Dailers, you're probably dead after this one last little fart of non-news. But you never know. I guess you
unless
never
he
know.
signs with Impact.
If he goes to Impact, we'll have more of him. But yeah, the Punk news became irrelevant the second, Tony Khan said he's out of here, and it sort of became obvious that he wasn't going to sue. He wasn't coming back. He's not going to WWE. He's just sort of going to, fade away back into the general popular culture, I guess.
Yeah. I imagine he'll likely get back into doing some of the movie stuff. Maybe he'll get more jobs writing comic books. He's still got the commentary thing doing with CFFC.
Yeah.
So imagine he'll keep busy. He'll keep his profile out there, but short of signing with Impact or wrestling for like All Japan or Noah or a company in Japan, the odds of him getting back in the wrestling ring at this juncture kind of small.
Yeah, they're not great.
There's not a whole lot of avenues for him right now.
Yeah, but like you said, if Noah, I don't know, if Noah wants to make a huge play, I don't know what kind of money they have.
I don't either.
Maybe that's a possibility, but yeah, I don't know.
I don't know either. John Hosey asks, what grade would you give Seth Rollins' World Heavyweight Championship reign so far?
Ooh, good question. So he won it as sort of the foregone conclusion to win it. Once Cody was out anyways.
Yeah.
But I
that's
think
not finishing his story. So I mean, if Cody won it, it wouldn't be the end game for him.
You and I had sort of suspected that Seth was going to win this.
Yes.
I mean, his matches are always good. I like the story of him running himself into the ground almost gleefully. Everybody trying to reason with him, people taking advantage of that. It seems to be heading towards disaster for him by insisting on being the opposite of Roman Reigns. And I like that aspect of it. To me, Seth has always been a bit more interesting as charismatic bad guy as opposed to straight up good guy who the song thing to me is getting a little bit long in the tooth, but the crowds there live love it still. You can't deny that the people seem to in general, the people seem to love it. It's his thing. I would give it, I'd give it a solid B+. I think there's been some really good stuff there.
I'd probably give it a B. There's been a lot of good stuff. I don't know how much great stuff there's been. There's been really good matches. There's been some good storylines. But I don't know how much of it's actually been elevated to oh my gosh, this is amazing. This is great.
Yeah, I would say probably none of it so far. I agree with that. Yeah.
And, I like the story of him. If you tell a story of a wrestler essentially running themselves on the ground, I'll get into it because it makes sense. This is a rough business. You're putting your body on the line every night. I liked it when Darby Allin did it in AEW because we had that great moment with him and Sting when they both realized it was over.
Yeah, that was good.
I don't know if Seth's going to get that kind of moment or not when it all comes to an end, his title reign. And I know they've gone to great lengths to try to make it seem like this World Heavyweight title is not the consolation belt. I'm telling you, until this belt main event's pay-per-view that Roman Reigns is on, it's the secondary title. It is.
Yeah, I know. I mean, they've made Roman Reigns into such a freaking,
his title still says undisputed champion on it.
Yeah, I know. I don't think they think about what that means. I do think that whenever he loses the title, it's going to be a very interesting story, and I think it's going to make for some really good stuff. So at this point, I'd give it a B+. I think it's got the potential to end up by the time he loses the title, I think it's got the potential to elevate into into an A level story. I mean, the Roman Reigns thing is just, he had a 3-year head start on him. It's Roman Reigns. He's big box office. They've made him just such a compelling character. That shit is A+ territory. With Seth, I think he can eventually, when he loses it, I think he can get into A territory, because that could be some interesting stuff. Like a lot of the stuff they played with Nakamura, where Seth would drop character and be like, yeah, my back is fucked.
Yeah.
I like that stuff. I think that's good. So yeah, B+ heading into an A if he loses the title, like to Drew, or there's some, shenanigans or something.
Mm-hmm.
The Finn stuff was good. I thought the Finn stuff was good.
Yeah, there was some good Finn stuff, even though Finn continued to look like a damn fool throughout.
He did. Yeah, he did. But like the promo stuff was pretty good. But you're right. There hasn't been anything that's been amazing, but they might tell some sort of amazing story when he loses it. And I think that could make it turn the corner.
White Brownie here says, with today and next Monday being season premieres for Raw and SmackDown, are there any presentation changes you hope we get, like maybe stage props or brand-colored ropes again? The blue ropes on SmackDown, the red ropes on Raw, something like that?
Man, I would say do less of the blue and red. I don't need all that blue and red. Back in the day, it felt more like it was like red and metal and blue and white, like SmackDown felt like a very bright blue and white show, and Raw felt more like it was like metal, corrugated steel, and and red. I wish it would be less slick. I would love. Now that Triple H has 99.9% of the creative, let him lean a little bit into his metal proclivities. I would say do that. Oh, and bring back the remember the SmackDown Rawgate?
Yeah.
Bring that shit back. I do like the practical set. I think it looks great.
Yeah. No, I agree. It'd be great if they kind of grunge things up a little bit. Mm-hmm. And they didn't have to go as far as they did with the Attitude Era, where the backdrop was, chain link fence and and like oil barrels and stuff like that. They don't have to go that far. And I know they want to keep it very slick for their television presentation, because it looks like it's expensive. It looks like it's the major league of professional wrestling.
Yeah.
Because it looks so slick and well produced. But that being said, it lacks a little bit in terms of character.
Yeah, sure.
And it would be cool if each show had, it didn't have to be huge changes, but their own distinct character. As you mentioned, like in the Attitude Era, you had Raw was the metal set, set and whatnot. And SmackDown looked pretty futuristic with the ovals.
It did, yeah.
At the top of the ramp and stuff like that.
Yeah.
They had very distinct characters to them, and now it's like the same set, same production. And I get it. It's uniform because it's probably better for business. I get that, but there's got to be a way that you can give each show a slightly distinct feel, while keeping a level of uniformity that's like, okay, this is a cohesive universe.
There's also like a lack of urgency when it comes to starting the show. Remember we used to watch, nothing beats that, 1998 theme song. What do they call that one?
Thorn in My Eye?
Yeah, Thorn in My Eye. My God, that just got you hyped to watch wrestling. Yeah. It really did. And nowadays it's sort of the lower tempo, the slower tempo, sort of rap songs. And it's like, man, if you're going to do rap, that's cool. I'm down with that. But give us like Welcome to the Terror Dome, give us some shit that's like
energy,
intense, like scary, urgency.
Yeah.
That's
And like, especially on Raw, SmackDown for that matter, how many episodes of Raw and SmackDown open up with like 2 minutes, sometimes more, 5 minutes of recap of what happened last week at the pay-per-view, plus hyping up what's going to happen on the show, rather than just starting it. Just give us something exciting happening right away.
Yeah.
I'm not saying necessarily they all have to be pull-apart brawls. I know Triple H likes his pull-apart brawls.
I love the pull-apart brawls. They're great.
But just something that gets the crowd into the show immediately, something that gets the TV audience into the show immediately.
Yeah.
Something exciting that makes you feel like, oh, anything's going to happen tonight. Something like that. That'd be great.
Yep, I agree.
Gosh.
Ski Walker.
Yeah, that's what it is. Do y'all think it's a good idea if Rock is wrestling Roman that they have Roman drop the strap in Perth against Cody, or just do Rock versus Roman match in Perth and save Cody's moment for Mania? If The Rock is going to wrestle again, he's going to wrestle Roman Reigns. That has to happen at WrestleMania. If the whole idea of the match, which it should be, is who's really the tribal chief? Who's really the head of the table? Roman needs to hold that belt for that match because that's what gives him legitimacy as the head of the table. If he loses the belt, he loses that legitimacy.
Yeah, I agree with that. I've seen the sentiment out there that, oh, it doesn't need the title. It just needs the tribal chief aspect of it. No, man, you can't not be the champion and be the tribal chief. Like, that doesn't work. You can't. Yeah. You can't have like Cody wins the title. There's only two places Cody can win the title: Madison Square Garden or WrestleMania. Madison Square Garden because it's the dad connection. WrestleMania because it's the biggest thing that they do. And if you do have Rock versus Roman, that's got to be WrestleMania as well. You can't have that on at whatever time of the day that's going to be. It was going to be like 3 a.m. or something.
Oh, it's going to be 3 in the morning for us, 2 or 3 in the morning for us.
Oh, boy, yeah.
No, they're not going to have Rock versus Roman. Probably the largest marquee match they could put on right now and not have it on at like prime time for U.S. viewers. They're not going to do that.
Yeah. Now, I will say this. You just said prime time. They've got like a deal coming up for Raw. I'm sorry, for SmackDown that includes like some network specials.
Yeah.
If they brought back like a Saturday night main event and they try to make that sumbitch greater than or equal to WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Then Rock versus Roman on NBC.
Yeah.
And you do that at a stadium.
Yeah.
That could be a thing. That could be.
Or you do Cody versus Roman for the belt at Madison Square Garden at one of those shows.
Yeah, that could be a thing. You could do that. You could do that. They could promote that shit. See,
you're
again,
talking maybe 5 million viewers, something like that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's promotion right there, man.
Yep. Organ Grinder here says, would you rather see Karrion Kross go back to being a dominant heel, or would you rather see a new direction for him and his character?
So
sorry, go ahead.
No, I think we're about to say the same thing. So you continue your thought.
I like the subtle story they're telling with him when he has a feud with somebody, that person has changed.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I've seen it referenced on social media. Someone pointed out he responded to it.
Yeah.
And it seems like we might be seeing AJ Styles distance himself from the rest of the OC, which is what Karrion Kross essentially alluded to when the feud started. I'm going to take you away from your brothers.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the problem is he'll have these feuds, he'll lose those feuds, and he's off TV for a while.
Yeah, he's on TV a lot.
He needs to be on TV more regularly, and he needs to get some huge wins, some significant wins.
He does, yeah.
And we need to see how and why, what they're doing with him in terms of him changing people after they feud with him, why that is, and how that's going to lead to him being successful down the road.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree with everything you said. Put him on TV more. He doesn't need to be U.S. champion. That'd be kind of cool, though. But I don't know. Have him feud with Ray, and then he gets the title off Ray, and then Ray ends up getting beat up by the LWO. He's a force of nature, and bad things happen after you've had a feud with him. I like that idea. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, I do too. It just seems like it's just the tip of the iceberg of that idea, though.
Yeah, right.
It seems like there's a lot more you could do with that, and I'm just waiting to see if they do. We kind of answered this earlier, but David Matushek asked, considering Tony Khan's recent social media meltdown, do you think he should hire a publicist?
I mean, dude, again, like you said earlier, we're not him. We're not in his shoes. We don't know what his deal is. I mean, he might consider social media to be a mental health help, like that. He might enjoy it, and it gives him some amount of, feeling of community, and you just got to take the good with the bad. If it was me and it was really like messing with me, then that's something that I would definitely have to consider. Absolutely. I haven't heard many people say, oh, I got off Twitter and I hated life. Usually it's I got off Twitter and I was much happier. More often than not, it's I got off Twitter, but I got bored, so I got back on because I missed it. Yeah. So I don't know. I'm not him. I think it's a good suggestion, but he's a big boy. He can take care of himself.
Exactly. Yeah, we don't know what his views on social media at large are. As he has mentioned, is he see it because he's so approachable, a means of community building that he's really into, and as you said, he's got to take the good with the bad.
Yeah.
He obviously uses it quite extensively to promote his business, but that's something you could hire a social media manager or a publicist to handle that aspect of it. But he's developed a very particular voice on social media.
He has, yeah.
And especially when he interacts with wrestling personalities or wrestling media. And I don't know if he hires somebody to handle his social media if they could even come close to replicating that.
I've often wondered if it's possible to sort of do a little bit of A, a little bit of B. Like if you hire somebody, give them the access to your Twitter simply to block out, like their job to a degree is to block out the trolls. It's like, so that when I get on, like this person's monitoring my stuff on a fairly regular basis and doing their best to cut that stuff out so that when I get on and I want to engage, I'm not exposed to that stuff. Yeah, right. Yeah.
Because it's funny when Dave Meltzer tweets something and Tony Khan responds to it. It's funny. Usually,
I know. Funny. I agree. I like seeing him, give credit to Lucha Blog for smartening up on the Lucha scene and other similar situations like that. I enjoy. I like seeing that.
Yeah. Agreed. Just a Hippo here says, much like Triple H, which wrestler in WWE today do you think in the future could be head of creative? Sami Zayn. Kevin Owens.
Oh, whether or not he'd want to, Cody Rhodes.
He might have more lofty aspirations than head of creative, Steve.
That could be. I'm trying to think who is sort of like
Bryan Danielson.
Oh yeah, for sure, Danielson. Yeah. I mean, there are so many parallels between Triple H and Seth Rollins. I think it would not shock me if 20 years from now Seth took that from Triple H and HBK. Yeah. I could see that as a possibility.
Yeah. Could be. Yeah. Elemental Giant here says, who will be traded for Jey Uso? Since Sean Ross Sapp said it wasn't planned for Cody. Apparently, it's going to be revealed tonight. Who got traded from Raw to SmackDown?
So
and if
this
it's
will
not
have,
Cody.
Yeah.
Who will it be?
This answer right here will have legs of olive.
What if it's Kevin Owens or Sami Zayn?
Oh, man.
Cody broke them up to get Jay on.
Wouldn't that be something else if he orchestrated this? Ooh, that's a good one. If Cody orchestrating broke up best friends. Oh, wow. Kevin Owens already has so much history with Roman, and so does Sammy.
I know.
So in terms of them like being back where the bloodline is, I don't know. Like it's a great idea for Cody to do that, but I don't know. There's just there's not much fresh there. Although the idea of, well, no, they're on Raw. Who's the LWOs there? They're good guys. So who else could it be? I mean, Drew is about to be in a thing with Seth. I don't think it's going to be Drew.
Yeah. Drew's had plenty of interaction with Roman too.
So somebody from Raw going to SmackDown.
Let me pull up the Raw roster here real quick, and we'll see what we can figure out.
Somebody from Raw going to SmackDown.
Here. What if he traded a Judgment Day member to SmackDown?
Oh, that'd be rough. That'd be rough.
Damian Priest or Finn gets traded to SmackDown.
Oh, that'd be something else. Who else is on? Yeah, who else is on Raw?
I don't know.
So it's not Cody.
The Miz?
Oh, that'd be terrible.
Why would SmackDown do that deal?
Yeah, I know exactly. That'd be terrible. Well, I guess if it was like, oh, okay, well, we're getting something out of it. Is there like a female superstar that it could be? I mean, Raw doesn't have a lot. Like their division is pretty thin for the women.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, you got Io, you got Charlotte, you got Bayley. I mean, the top is pretty strong, but yeah.
They're SmackDown. We're sending somebody from Raw to SmackDown.
No, I know. I'm saying in terms of the women's division on SmackDown, there's an Asuka.
It's a stacked one there. That's a stacked. Yeah, that's a stacked roster.
There's no sending someone from Raw to SmackDown. I mean, I don't know.
I mean, Shayna. She's sort of redundant with Rhea.
But she's about to feud with her, though.
Yeah, I know.
I don't know.
Should just be
unless there's
Dom.
somebody who's returning and they're saying, well, they came back. Like I've seen people mention Randy Orton, and Randy Orton was undrafted, I think.
Oh wow, yeah.
So it wouldn't exactly be a trade in the truest sense of the word.
That's a pretty big deal, though. Yeah. I like the idea of like Cody doing that to Randy, and Randy's just like, Randy would not like that. He'd be like, you don't get to choose. You don't get to pull that trigger. What are you doing?
No.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I love the idea. I do love the idea of Sammy or Kevin. I think that could be phenomenal. Like, we think they're going to be the War Games team, but like Cody's like, not one of you's going to. Ouch.
Or even better, they still are the War Games team, but Cody's like, I'm sorry, I wanted to bring Jay here for a fresh start when you two had to go.
Yeah,
but we can still be friends.
Right. And they're like, the fuck you, man. You really put your politician skills to the test.
I know. AJ Otani here has a question about podcasting. Says, are there any podcasting tips you have? Cheap setup, conversation flow, anything helps. Love the friendos. Thank you, AJ Otani.
Oh, yeah. So I honestly would suggest, like, probably the best way to go about it is like YouTube tutorials in terms of like, but I mean, we can speak to what we do here. Mm-hmm. These mics are kind of pricey. I've got like a bunch of these, and these are Audio Technica AT 2020s. It's $100 for this.
And they're fine.
And they're fine.
They're serviceable.
They're totally fine. Like, we've used them before. We use them for when we started doing the Friendo Club stuff in person. We were using them. I think we switched out to these though, or to the ones that you have. Mm-hmm. But they're $100. You get an XLR thing. You can get a mixer for like $60 to $80. Plug that in your PC, and you got some stew going there. If you want, I would always suggest add a video element to it, because video is everything these days, and all podcasts are on video. That mean a damn are on video for the most part. Because then there's no problem, like uploading it to YouTube is free, and it's free advertising. Mm-hmm. It's relatively cheap to subscribe to an audio podcast server. I don't know, Libsyn or what's the one? Audio Boom, I think. I was using Audio Boom
there's a
for
lot
a
of
second.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, in terms of again, there's like lots of cheap options out there for cameras. It's just, I don't know what your budget is.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I just, explore YouTube, put in, affordable podcast setup and podcast tips. Got this book here. Who sent this one to us?
Aussie Dragoon
sent us Podcasting for Dummies. I've not looked at this. Expect our game to be improved vastly once I actually read it.
Yes.
What if I hear more than one voice? Well, then you've got two people in there with you. I think it's speaking specifically about a program.
About potentially echoes and stuff like that.
Yeah. So, I mean, conversation flow, I don't know. We've known each other for a long time. That's why our conversation flows.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
yeah, it's kind of
if there's any other specific questions about podcasting,
let us know.
Yeah, let us know. We got a Smackdown preview. Good news. Got the game Triple H back. Here he is. Hey, what's going on? This is Triple H the Game. Paul Levesque. Call me Paul Levesque today, actually.
Paul? Okay.
Paul.
Hi, Paul.
Yeah, you can call me Paul. That's what I'm doing, because I got my COO pants on today. You know how much money I made on the Don't Interrupt? You know how much money I made on that Endeavor deal?
Probably quite a bit.
Yeah, it was a lot of money.
Let me ask you something.
Yeah, go ahead.
Do you have? You said COO. Is that your official title, or are you just Chief Creative Officer?
I'm just everything.
Anyways, you said you had COO, Chief Creative Officer pants. Do you actually have specific pants that you wear when you're doing those duties?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, I do. Number one, I like that you just said duties. Break it down. Yeah. Yeah, I do. I got them from Macy's. I got a Macy's card because they give good deals. And so I got them from Macy's.
What's the interest rate in that Macy's card?
13.96%. Break it down. Interest rates are through the roof. Fed keeps on raising the price.
That's not a bad rate for a credit card.
Yeah, it was a special deal. It's an intro APR.
It wasn't go up to in a year.
28.99.
Yeah, that's what I was expecting. That's
like that would be red card type
numbers, right?
All the red cards through the roof. It's above 30%. Anyways, I get ready to get one of those cards, and he brings the dog out in me. Anyways, do you want to talk about SmackDown? We got a killer show today. Declaration of war from Tony Khan. Then guess what? Yeah, you're going to bring your Collision and your Rampage, your pissant shows over to Friday. Blow you out of the water. Roman Reigns versus The Rock on that night. That's right. We're going to do that on SmackDown. Roman Reigns versus The Rock against Collision and Rampage. We're going to try to get Collision and Rampage into like the four figures. Like 9,900. Yeah, 9,900 is good. 9,900 total viewership. As they're going to do.
Is that combined for both shows?
Yeah, you got that right, buddy boy.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm going to tell them to suck it. Do-do-do-do.
Break it down, huh?
Break it down. Break it down your total viewership. Okay, but tonight on SmackDown, they're going to have a demo of .00009. Roman Reigns rumbles his way back to Who wrote this shit? Rumbles his way back to SmackDown?
Oh, no, it's not that close to the Royal Rumble.
It's not Rumble season yet. What are they talking about? So Roman Reigns is going to be on SmackDown. It's first time in fucking forever. My God. That tribal chief setup, my goodness gracious. He just gets
I wish I got that set up.
Nobody gets that set up. There's only one person who gets that set up, Roman Reigns. But
definitely not Seth Rollins, right?
Definitely, there's one unique individual that is definitely not meant for, and that is Seth freaking Rollins. He doesn't get that.
Just want to make sure of
that.
that.
Tribal chief setup. John Cena is set to return to SmackDown. The strike, they had to put the pause on the strike. No deal. So John Cena is going to be here because the strike is still going on. But as soon as the strike over, John Cena is going away. He's out of there. Oh, hey, look at this next one. I'm going to make a special appearance. Triple H.
Is this news to you?
I didn't even know this was happening. I'm on the show. This is my time.
Yeah, there we go. Time to play the game, huh?
I'm going to announce the new general manager. He's going retro. Oh, spoiler alert on that one. And then finally we got Pretty Deadly facing the Brawling Brutes in the first match since Elton Prince's injury. They got him. It's a funny thing. They got him in a wheelchair, but he's got a shoulder injury. Get it? It's comedy.
It is.
I know comedy. I used to do like wedgies on Michael Cole because I'd be like, break it down. Triple H. This is my declaration of war. Oh,
he's out. He's gone.
He's gone. He was in a good mood today.
Yeah, he was in a very good mood.
Wartime Triple H is in a good mood. That makes sense.
So.
You know why? Because Tony Khan brought the dog at him.
Brought the dog out in him. Yep.
In him. Yeah, in him, not out of him. That's like
brought the dog out in him. Yeah. He was inside. Brought it out.
Brought it out, not out of him though. Yeah, brought it out.
It's still in him. But he brought it. He just it emerged.
He wasn't pregnant with the dog, and then it just gave birth.
No, it wasn't birth. No.
That'd be gooey. Anyways, that's gonna do it for the show today. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Hey, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and the notify bell, and hit that like button. That goes a long way too. Thanks for watching, everybody. Till next time, we'll see you around.
Goodbye.